Everyone. This is Kevin, and welcome to AI in Veterinary Medicine podcast, episode 2. Today, I have the pleasure of having Dr. Christie Cornelius here with us. Dr. Christie, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Kevin. I am well today. Thank you.
Good, good. So let's start by getting a little bit of a background from you. When I met you, I learned that you were a veterinarian and also turned into entrepreneur. And you've founded several companies in the veterinary medicine space. And I would love to hear it for our audience here.
Sure. Yeah. So, yeah, I finally admitted that I am a serial entrepreneur, first and foremost, and a veterinarian as well. And
Yeah.
so, I have been out of school for about 20 years now. And after I sold my first company to Blue Pearl Veterinary Specialists, I decided that I wanted to move forward with my education and learn a little bit more about business and leadership and innovation and those really important things that are part of many industries. And so, in order for me to kind of move up, I decided that I kind of needed to take my education in my own hands and decided to start an executive MBA program, in which luckily I am graduating in a month.
Oh,
And
nice.
I'm
Congrats.
super excited about that. And
Congrats.
so, yeah, coming out here full force, being able to utilize my new skill set now in combination of being a veterinarian, and I think there's a fantastic opportunity
Yeah.
given the recent events with generative AI.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think before we get into the AI side of things, I remember you mentioning that you're also like super tech oriented. One of the companies that you worked on was about wearables, if I'm not mistaken. So if you wanted to briefly talk about that, because I wanted to see how that can then be integrated into AI in the future. But we can talk about that
Sure.
later. But just wanted to hear from you very briefly on that experience.
Yeah, yeah. So part of my journey as a palliative care veterinarian interested in end of life, in-home euthanasia, also have an interest in pet cremation. And so in order to develop a model kind of from A to Z, from when your senior pet starts getting sick all the
Yep.
way up until the very end and return of ashes, I feel having management over that whole process is very important to the client. And so, as a result of that, what I ran into, I co-founded a software company with one of my colleagues. Her name is Dr. Deborah Rotman, and she and I together we started working with developers on creating an electronic pet tracking software in order to keep track of inventory as we received patients after they were euthanized or were deceased. Then we were able to help connect the pet owners to crematories, and for those crematories to offer a software, and so that they can ensure that the pet is going through a process where the owners can keep track and make
Right.
sure that they are connected to that pet even after death. And
Yeah.
so we set up together, and part of that software was providing the resources needed, the packaging available, e-commerce, things like that. We're all part of that. And that was kind of in 2018, 2019. And that's when I really started to be more in tune with technology and how it actually worked in conjunction with veterinary medicine and the pet
Right.
industry itself.
Right. That's awesome. That is a great background, honestly.
Thank you.
And I think it's super humbling to see. I'm a software engineer by trade, and
Yeah,
and it's good to to learn from people that did not study software engineering, but still were able to get into software and apply it to other industries. So it's super interesting.
thank
Um,
you.
so with that, I wanted to get your thoughts on how did you get into generative AI specifically. I love that you mentioned generative AI, not just AI, given that that's what's current hot
Yep.
in the industry and in several sectors. So I just wanted to know how did you start learning and getting familiarized yourself with large language models and generative AI. We talked briefly offline before this, but I guess starting from how you started into where you are today would be good to know.
Sure, yeah. And so, as part of my curriculum, starting in early 2022 and getting into the MBA program,
Hmm.
I have a large interest in entrepreneurship. And
Hmm.
part of the reason I chose the university that I chose was because it's always top in entrepreneurship. And so it made sense for me to pursue that degree at that university. And in that, they also offered innovation courses.
Mm.
And of course, with business development, innovation, think big things like that,
Right.
and also keeping up with technology, I took courses that taught me how to engage in digital transformation, how to engage in change and implementing things like software, and
Mm.
getting into really the operations and kind of the bare bones of all of that. And to get a sense of that in order to be able to work with new technology
Mm.
and help to implement new things into new programs.
Yeah, yeah, and no, that makes complete sense. And I've also seen that you write a lot as well. And in fact, you started writing about how I found you was because you started writing some things about AI and generative AI and VetMed, and I was like, wow, you know, how do you even find the time first, and then how do you keep learning? I guess like because me, I'm a software engineer and I'm basically living in this AI world. And so I'm constantly, bombarded with news and chatter about the AI space by some of my colleagues and friends. But like for you, I don't know how is it that you consume this knowledge? Like, is it like a regular news source, like actively thinking something and trying things out? Like, how do you go about on like expanding and keep learning that
Sure.
for you specifically?
Yeah, sure. So my interest really peaked when I started a course specifically in generative AI strategy and implementation at the university I'm attending, and that opened up a whole new area of resources for me to go in and start learning about. And so I started taking Coursera courses
Mm.
from Andrew Ng,
Oh, yeah.
who was with Google, I think now just recently with Amazon, I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
right? Yes.
yeah, yeah,
And so a big, huge talent. And so when
yeah,
you're learning the basics from someone like that,
yeah,
it makes a huge difference.
yeah.
And so really, the way that I learn is that I have to learn all of like as many details as I can understand,
It's
right?
hard. It's hard. There's
It
so many
is,
details.
yeah. And there's really, there's really no AI expert, right?
Oh yeah,
We're doing the best we can, all of
yeah.
us, to
Do the
keep
best
up
we
with
can.
all the new
Yeah,
information,
yeah,
right? And so to be able to find those resources, find the blogs, the Substacks, the podcasts, everything that I could put my hands on
yeah,
related to generative AI,
yeah,
that's how I learn and how I teach
yeah,
myself. And
yeah,
so, although I can go all the way back to maybe where Python is, and I may have to rely on, a developer to
yeah,
do
yeah,
that stuff,
yeah, yeah,
from everything from there and taking interest in things like, what tokens are and how they work and how transformers work and how the
yeah,
large language models are developed and how they actually work to seek information, and it's basically a long chain of tokens
yeah,
that
yeah.
give you the information that you need, and although it's hard to
Probability.
think of them as not like human like,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to remember also it's patterns,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's just able to delineate everything and
Probability.
come up with
Yeah.
this magical thing. And I think a lot of us don't even know the capabilities of what's happening. And I think there's still a lot of discovery along the way
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, you mentioned something very important, which is there's a lot of details behind the scenes and tokens and probability and all of these things. And then, for somebody as curious as you, that's important to learn. But the more and more I start talking to other veterinarians and thinking how this can be applied in the profession, in the industry, it's like, a lot of the veterinarians, they don't want to know all these details, or they don't necessarily need to know all these details, but they should know at least how to apply these concepts into the practice. And in fact, that's what we're doing with Vetric. The whole thing is, an AI scribe where you don't need to know the details about how it works, but you can just use it and it saves you a lot of time. So
Yep.
I think it's a combination of, like, if you're curious, you should know about these details, but majority of veterinarians, at least understanding how to apply these things at a very high level, at least, can save you lots of time. Um,
Absolutely.
And with this, I wanted to ask you. I know that you wrote a recent article about ChatGPT or generative AI
Mhm.
model taking
Yep.
the veterinary licensing exam and
Yeah.
some of the results that were found. I would love to
Yeah.
hear your thoughts from that because I haven't taken that exam. I'm not a veterinarian, but would love to know, how that was.
Yeah, fortunately, I haven't taken it in a long, long time. But I can tell you with what we were seeing in the results, really, I think gives us a good idea of actually the capabilities and some of the limitations of the
Mm,
large language models,
mm,
and that there are the emergence of, at least a few good foundational models, which is demonstrated in a lot of these studies
mhm.
that take these higher level exams.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing is the true differences between kind of even a half a generation.
Mm,
And what we're talking about, anywhere from, 6 to 12 months, there's a huge difference in, the way that these models work and their grasp and their data and everything. And I think that's where you're seeing the differences
mm.
is just how advanced that is, and when the last time that model was, scraped the internet,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, basically the
And
data.
so it's just, demonstrating that these models have the tendency to get smarter and smarter to a point.
Do you think we're going to get into a point where there will be a model that can pass, with flying colors, the licensing exam?
I'm pretty sure, yes, that will
Yeah,
happen eventually. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think yeah,
Um, yeah. Yeah. I don't, I don't think it's going to be perfect, but
yeah,
I think definitely passing with flying colors.
yeah.
Yes.
And I think the main thing here, and not many people understand this, but not because a model can pass an exam with flying colors, it means that the model can be a doctor and
Yep.
they will replace veterinarians. Because I actually want to get your thoughts on this. It's a common theme that some veterinarians have shared with me, and then I explained how the actual thing works. But the common theme and the common fear is, well, AI is going to replace me. There's not a need for veterinarians anymore. And that's definitely not true. If anything is going to augment you, the doctor will always be
Yes.
there. You guys
Yes.
studied all of those years of actual practice and actual care for the pet, and like the doctor will always be there. But it's about augmenting. And wanted to hear your thoughts, whether people have shared these fears with you, or in your readings and in your writings, how to convey this message that AI is not going to replace veterinarians, but it's going to
Yeah.
augment them. And I
Yep.
can I can try and teach and help that whenever I have conversations, but these things keep popping up.
Yeah, yeah, of course. And it's not only in this industry, but
For sure.
many industries,
For sure.
right?
For sure.
And what will happen is that you will not be replaced by an AI machine or AI tool. You will be replaced by somebody who knows about AI tools.
That is a very
Okay.
good point there.
And so, yeah, it's a huge opportunity for us to see this as a way to improve
Yeah.
ourselves, and improve the way we interact with others and improve our own capabilities. And so, if people embraced it as that,
Yeah.
yeah, get ready because, there's going to be many others behind you that is going to take that opportunity. And
Yeah.
so, you don't want to miss that.
I really like how you said it, really like, which is AI is not going to replace you, but somebody is going to replace you, and that person is the person who knows about AI and how can they apply it on their day to day. But the AI itself will not replace you. I really like how you put it.
Yeah.
Um, some finishing thoughts here, Dr. Christie, is where can we go? And I don't know how much you've tinkered with the other side of the AI side of things in terms of machine learning and neural nets and all of the things that are not necessarily like large language models. We've seen some companies doing like image diagnostics and radiology diagnostics, and just wanted to know, how much you knew about that, and where do you think we can go with LLMs and on other
Yeah.
side of things about AI as well in veterinary medicine.
Sure. So my thoughts are obviously the large language models will continue to get smarter. You
Hmm.
get smarter probably to a point, maybe in a few years,
Hmm.
we're kind of started to run out of some data and may have to start. And I think you might start to see some consolidation there when other businesses start to buy other businesses' data because that's the gold mine there. And so we'll probably see more rise of what are called agents
Hmm.
and the ability to do tasks on their own as an agent to help
Hmm.
assist others, right? I think more of what's called RAGs will be prevalent for a while, but I think eventually, if we do get turn into things like AGI, which is just generalized intelligence, I think that's probably a goal of anybody with regards to ChatGPT,
Yeah.
and I think eventually we might even have our own personal large language
Yeah.
models,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so it would be super beneficial for everybody. And I think just something that could really change us, change society.
Yeah.
I think the rise of text to video with things like Sora, once that's released, I think that'll have a huge impact on marketing specifically. Are we going to see the fall of Google search? Is it going to be replaced by Perplexity, or something else where those advertisements, that revenue income, is
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
going to become an issue for them,
Yeah.
right? And how behind are they really? We
Yeah.
don't know. I think they have the ability to really catch up pretty well with
Yeah.
Gemini 1.5, things like that. But I think also with all of this happening, maybe there'll be an increase in the value of a human being doing something again, just on its own. Maybe that will become,
Exactly.
valuable, right? Especially kind of in the arts and, things like that.
Yeah.
But I also feel that there's a huge benefit to humanity in the rise of empathy and communication. And I think that in itself will help kind of get us through all of these changes.
Yeah.
And I think we'll find that as one of the biggest benefits of generative AI.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a great way to end it, really. And I think from what I've heard you is advice to veterinarians is make sure to get on top of it. Make sure to start learning and start reading, because the more you can understand how to apply this technology, you'll be better. So
Yep, just start using it.
thank you so much, Dr. Christie.
You're
Really
welcome.
appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Take care.